country and her people, that they may hope, so that we can all be better. I want you to resolve here that you are not going to be a bigot in any way, shape, or form, in your school or out of your school, in your community or out of your community. You are not going to be a bigot because you are bright, young Guyanese children aiming to grow up in a land that is full of love and unity and togetherness. A land that thrives where the government is committed to giving each and every one of you equal opportunities regardless of what you look like. So this morning it gives me great pleasure to declare the inaugural, the first time ever, the Ministry of Education's Arrival Day Village.
Dial Greater Georgetown, and we are at the Arrival Day Village, established under the guidance of the Ministry of Education, and of course it is an excellent brainchild, and I must say that the students are out. It's the second day the second day of the Arrival Day Village actually, and yesterday began with a cultural presentation and display in the morning hours that started at 9 a.m. and of course we saw various cultural presentations coming out of the 6 ethnic groups. Now the village in itself, what it has to offer, I'll let Shane tell you that aspect. So Shane, you go ahead.
Yes, so we're at day 2 of the Ministry of Education's Arrival Day Village, and there are as you know, their Arrival Day is a celebration of all the ethnic groups that came to Guyana, which is the Amerindians, Africans, Europeans, Portuguese, Chinese, and East Indians. And along the Artichon Conference Center ground, we have the booths laid out in chronological order.
Yes.
And right now, as we speak, the children are making their way through, and they're being told by the respective persons at the different booths about what they're having on display. What we've seen so far between yesterday and today, we're seeing the different contributions that the different ethnic groups have made to Guyana since their arrival in Guyana all those years ago. We're seeing the display of the arts and craft in the Amerindian booth, and we're seeing the contributions of food in the African booth, the contribution of clothing, Portuguese and European, the contribution of clothing and food and culture,
yes.
music
yes.
in the East Indian
yes.
booth, and we're also seeing the contribution of I saw a depiction of the lion or
yes.
the tiger in the Chinese booth there as we go along the line. So there's a lot of things on display in these various different booths along the ground of the Artichon Conference Center.
And it doesn't only cover just the contributions, but
Yeah.
it also covers the history, how it is that our forefathers came, the different contributions that they made to us as Guyanese. We know that we're a melting pot of culture,
Yeah.
and what has caused us to be the Guyanese people that we are today, what has shaped us and molded us in the way that we are. So it is a lot to see. Of course, there are orators right along each and every booth, and they're taking you through, they're taking the children through. And of course, this is a great initiative, especially for the children who are sitting common entrance next year. We know that social studies is one of the subjects, four core subjects that is sat at the NGSA exam. And of course, the students are here with their teachers, and of course, they're having a hands-on experience, of the culture and what exactly it is that these ethnic groups had to offer. They're not just studying it from a textbook or sitting in the classroom, but the Ministry of Education has taken it one step further in offering them this experience.
Yeah, and if I do remember correctly, there are like artifacts dating all the way back from
Yes.
the 1800s in the European group, Portuguese group, sorry. Their booth there have an artifact dating back all the way to the 1800s that children have the first-hand, look and feel of what that fabric is, dating all that many years ago back. So it's really, like Shante said, an hands-on experience here being given to these children by the Ministry of Education in the sense of the Arrival Day village here at the Artichon Conference Center. So Shante and I are going to take you guys along these booths. For those of you who can't make it to the actual ground here at ACC, we're going to take you along these booths, interview the people at the booth, give you guys a little bit of walkthrough about what we're seeing, what's there that you can interact with. Have a little demonstration or explanation of the history of these different ethnic groups that have came to Guyana those many years ago, and still here existing, as Shanti said, as a melting pot of Guyanese culture. So we're guys going to take you guys along the line, as I said, take you guys along the booths of different 6 ethnic groups here at the Artichon Conference Center throughout the day for the next maybe 2 hours. We're going to be here with you guys happening here on the Guyana Learning Channels page. So stay tuned, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back in a few.
We owe our ancestors who came here. We owe them the duty to look after this country and her people, that they made home, so that we could all be better. I want you to resolve here that you are not going to be a bigot in any way, shape, or form. In your school or out of your school, in your community or out of your community, you are not going to be a bigot because you are bright, young Guyanese children aiming to grow up in a land that is full of love and unity and togetherness. A land that thrives, where the government is committed to giving each and every one of you equal opportunities regardless of what you look like. So this morning it gives me great pleasure to declare the inaugural, the first time ever, the Ministry of Education's Arrival Day Village.
So we're with Ovid Williams here at the Amerindian booth here at the Artichoke Conference Center for the Arrival Day Village. And he's going to tell us a little bit about the history of the Amerindian people, how they came and why they settled in Guyana. So Ovid, can we pinpoint an exact time, a date or a period as to when the Amerindians came to Guyana and why they settled?
There is no exact time to recorded by us because we didn't have our numeracy, so we cannot say on the 15th of May, for example. We don't have that kind of information. However, history has it that during the fourth ice age, that they migrated through the Bering Strait. At that time, it was the ice age, and it had formed a bridge, and they traveled on to Alaska and then hit North America, and from there they came to Central America and then to South America and eventually ended up in Guyana. And when the ice would have melted somewhat, they used canoes to come across to South America.
Right, and do we know why they decided to settle in Guyana, build home, continue their customs that they've brought from all the parts of the world? Do we know why they decided to settle, particularly in Guyana?
Always look for betterment in the form of food security, and because of the heavy snow and ice age, the animals were lacking. So in search of food, they traveled from one continent to another one, and then eventually ended up this side, and it was more productive for them to be in Guyana.
Awesome. So can you tell us at this time about some of the contributions that the Amerindians made to Guyana, some things that we know and love today that are, originally from the Amerindian culture?
Well, the first thing is the language. We have nine language groups, and most of the names in Guyana is derived originally from the Amerindians, including Guyana, like Essequibo, Quarantine, Demerara, Berbice, and Kaichor Falls, Orinduk Falls, and lots of areas has been named after the Amerindian languages. So that has been a contribution. And also maintaining the security of Guyana at the border areas. We occupy the frontier of Guyana, and we are not, while the other ethnic groups are centered on the coast, we provide security at the frontiers and at the borders. And it's over 200 and something miles of border unprotected areas that we have, but that's what we have provided. And then our diet and our cultures play an important role also. We use herbal medicines where the contemporary medicine is not available. We resort to herbal medicine to cure our illnesses. Like for example, in the COVID, while others were lots of people were told to take vaccine, the indigenous people were reluctant in taking the vaccine, and they preferred to use the herbal medicine. And fortunately, those that took the herbal medicine has not had any reported cases of relapse while those that took vaccine, we understand, are getting relapse of the COVID. Those that took the herbal medicine has not had any reported case of relapse.
Awesome. So what we hear is the Amerindians, they have contributed a plethora of things to Guyanese culture, from the clothing to the names to the herbal medicine to their way of life, to the diet also, most important.
And dances. So we have one month of celebrations that we showcase our culture and our demographics, our practices, our beliefs, our folklore, and our rites of passage, the do's and don'ts when our girls and boys are reaching the puberty age, some of the taboos, some of the do's and don'ts, and that has still in practice today. And then, of course, our language, in song, music, and story, we have contributed that also.
Awesome.
And of course, the intangible cultural heritage is being promoted. We can cure we can cure illnesses, and there are cases where domestic problems, like if a man leaves his wife and abandons her, the intangible cultural heritage is that the PI man can do his work and he can bring back the man from wherever he is within 3 to 4 days back to the wife. So these are some of the practices that we have which play a very integral and important part in our culture.
Before we go, Mr. Williams, I have one more question, and I feel like this question is very interesting, and I always thought about it. When the Amerindians came to Guyana all those years ago, why, you mentioned that, they're the defense of Guyana's border. Why did they decide to go into these interior regions and not settled on the coastline all those years ago when they came?
As I just mentioned everybody looks for food security. And down here, the place is soggy and so on, and good for like rice, etc. But we depend on cassava, and cassava will not grow in swampy areas. So, and then we look for game, animals, birds, and they're in the mountainous areas. So it couldn't be here, so they went there. It is an easier, and they can do fishing there in the rivers and so on. So it was more appropriate for them to live in the hinterland.
Right, so we've heard from Ovid Williams here at the Amerindian booth down at the Arrival Day Village, who explained to us a little bit of the history as to why the Amerindians came to Guyana, why they decided to settle, why they choose to be into the interland regions as to settle on the coastline, and it's a bit about their customs that they've brought to Guyana and kept for so many years. So we have a lot more, 5 more booths actually to go through, and Shanti and I will take you guys through them. Okay, let's go. Yeah.
Very quickly, I know Essequibo is in the minds of a lot of Guyanese. Essequibo comes from the Amerindian word di shikibo, it's the Lokono language, and it means fireside, fireside. Now, people may want to know why fireside, but because we used to travel in boats and we did not have pots, metal pots with handle, we use our clay pots to cook with and to travel. And the saying and the advice to other people who would be going on long journeys on the river, including Essequibo River, they said, "Di shikibo kuputkanhanabui," do not forget your fireside. So di shikibo means do not forget your fireside. And that has been distorted to the word Essequibo as we know it now. And also quarantine. Quarantine comes from the Lokono language, the Arawak language for coconut. When the Dutch colonized Guyana, they wanted to know what was the name of the fruit, which was very prevalent in the area where Suriname and Guyana borders. And the people said the name of the fruit that they were holding was cocorotini. The Dutch could not pronounce cocorotini, and the closest they came to pronouncing cocorotini was to name the river that now separates Suriname and Guyana to quarantine. So that is the origin of the word quarantine as we know it, not coming from the indigenous word cocorotini for cookrit. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that, Ovid Williams. So you guys, we have 5 more booths to go here at the Arrival Day Village, happening here at the Artichon Conference Center. So stick around and we'll be right back with more from the other booths here.
to look after this country and her people, that they made home, so that we can all be better. I want you to resolve here that you are not going to be a bigot in any way, shape, or form, in your school or out of your school, in your community or out of your community. You are not going to be a bigot because you are bright, young Guyanese children aiming to grow up in a land that is full of love and unity and togetherness. A land that thrives where the government is committed to giving each and every one of you equal opportunities regardless of what you look like. So this morning it gives me great pleasure to declare the inaugural, the first time ever, the Ministry of Education's Arrival Day Village.
With Miss Latasha David. We're still in the booth where it's displaying a plethora of Amerindian heritage and culture. And we're talking with Miss Latasha David, and she'll be telling us about the arts and craft that we're seeing before us today and what this means exactly to the Amerindian culture and why it is important to have this preserved.
Okay, for the Amerindian culture, we need to teach the children our culture, so that they can grow and teach others about it. So, for instance, we have this here, it's the lucky seed. This is an indigenous seed. I make jewelry with it. Yes. This here, it's a necklace made from the vine. And all
So the necklace here, yeah.
this is made from a vine. So I try to put everything into a package so it teaches the children that, okay, we can see like a recycle. We use a recycle and make it into something that we can use.
And what is the name of this specific vine?
I can't really...
You can't remember at this point in time.
This here, it's the YY seed. And this is called the manicold tree. They take and make the seed. This is the YY seed. This here is the seed from the same straw that we make. This is the Ite palm, this is the seed. So we use the seed, we can make the jewelry, we can even make the clothing, which is the straw skirts, bra, and so we make out of it. We use the basket, the fan, so many things we can use to make.
So I'd like to ask you a bit about the process of these arts and crafts that you have here before us. Now, we see that most of these, or all of the craft rather, they come from some type of seed or vine or whatever, right? Now, what is the harvesting like? Are you provided with these materials, or is it that you go out and harvest it yourself?
No, I would go out and purchase. Whoever do seeds, if I go out and I see a seed on the trees or so, I would pick it up and go and preserve and do my work. But if I can't get it, I go and source from others.
I'm looking here right now and I'm seeing these kind of uniquely shaped earrings here. Can you explain to us what these are?
This here, it's an earring and it's made from the Arapaima scale, the largest fish we have in Guyana. So this is the scale of the fish.
That explains why they're kind of shaped a little bit like
the shapes.
Yeah.
I cut the shape out in this design and I color it. So we could use, instead of throwing it away, we can use it back and make jewelry with it. This
Awesome.
Here, it's the YY seed. Make this here. So we have a lot. This, it's the same palm. It's the seed, but we can get it colored. So you get it in various colors, but it's still the Ite palm, the seed. So we have a lot of things. This here is made from the balata, and it's a little indigenous lady. It's from the balata.
Nice. So, what is the downtime, or what is the time dedicated to making at least one of these craft items?
Okay. For me, working from year ago, and it would be a short time for me, but newcomers would it would take a longer, because this here would take me like about 2 hours, but 2 hours. And I also do the knitted cotton clothing made from the cotton thread. So this is the design. I do costumes. I do headpieces, because you can see they have the headpieces, the skirt, all these things here is I do.
Very, very, very impressive. So we've been to Ovid Williams, who explained to us the history of why the Amerindians came to Guyana, why they settled, why they decided to settle in different parts of Guyana. And we just spoke to Natasha David, who explained to us a little bit about the arts and crafts. But the Amerindian people have contributed so much more to Guyana as a whole. As Ovid was explaining, they've contributed language, names of many places in Guyana. If we go along the Amerindian booth here at the Arrival Day Village, we also see the different foods on display that they've contributed. Many of us are very aware of the Armenian food. My favorite is pepper pot, obviously.
Yes, we all know and love pepper pot.
Have, during the festive seasons. There's cassava bread and many, many, many more that they contribute to the Guyanese culture and traditions and customs here in Guyana as the first peoples that came to Guyana. So we're going to just wrap up here at the Amerindian booth at the Arrival Day Village, and we're going to head over to a next booth where we're going to have the similar discussion about their history, why they came, the different contributions that they've made to Guyana, and we're going to see a little bit of more physical stuff as to what these different ethnic groups have contributed to Guyana the many years that they've been here. So stick around and we'll be right back. We're back and we're at the European booth here, and we have with us Jermaine Brooms, who's going to tell us a little bit about the history of the Europeans. We're going to talk about why they came to Guyana and why they decided to settle here in South America, Guyana. So, good morning, Jermaine. Can you tell us a little bit about the history of the Europeans?
Okay, from what I understand, they came here in 1492. And when they came, Christopher Columbus, as he said, he discovered the West Indies. So he came thinking here about gold, the land of many gold. So that's all the history. So he came to see where this gold at. So when he came now, he realized that we could do a settlement. So if we do this settlement, this is my only idea, if we do this settlement, we can get more out just gold, right? So he settled. But when they settle, they realize if we settle, we are the Europeans, we're not accustomed to doing hard work. So what can we do to bring out from this land? So they went and they bring the slaves. That's all I think. But when they came, they bring the finest thing for themselves. Because they bring the fine wine, the cutleries, the flowers, the clothing and everything. So from the history of that, you sit down and you think, so why we didn't get paid then? If they have the finest, they come with the finest thing. So my design today is all to bring out what they bring when they come, and when they leave, what they leave. I know they leave the cokers, they leave different history of buildings. One thing that struck me, I know they bring Christianity to Guyana, and it come from in the St. Andrew's Clerk, where they build so the Africans could go in and pray and say, well, the thing at time Christians don't know, the Africans don't know about Christian, they know about this whole life in the jungle or whatever. So they teach us more about Christianity life. So Christianity is a big thing now. So that is my aspect out. And for me, as a designer, it gives me much more knowledge about the whole history of all 6 races.
What we've noticed with the different ethnic groups, except the ones that were forcefully brought here, that when they came, they decided to settle in, specific parts of the country. The Amerindians decided to settle within the hinterland regions for, better crop cultivation. Where did the Europeans decide to settle, and why?
The part, I think they most settled mostly within the Georgetown, Georgetown region, in the coastal area, because I think it was more easy for them to move and create maybe streets or road so they can move. Because if they go to the jungle, they're going to say, well, we got to go the whole thing. So I think that is the easy in Georgetown. That's why we have so much historic buildings, and that's why we got the unique seawall. Because they realize now, if we are settling ourselves in this old coastal land, we have to protect ourselves. So they build, in my own knowledge, they build the seawall so the ocean could stay out from the water from coming in. So I think they did.
Yeah. Now, we see behind you, we have a depiction of Christopher Columbus. And I'm guessing you are the artist behind this art, displaying the clothing that they brought, the clothing concept, of course. And we know this is exactly what the Europeans, what they wore when they were in their very own inhabitation, when they were in Europe. Yeah. We know these kind of activities, doing some amount of astrology and stuff. That's what they were up to. Now, tell us, how exactly did you come up with what we see here today?
All right. What happened? I sat down and I think about Christopher Columbus. So I run through the Facebook the pages and check. So then I realized they have a whole set of different clothing that he wear. So I decided to choose this one because he went on the ship and he was spying, and I was telling my kids when he spied, he said, well, wow, because he said he first came, but then when he come and he spied through that, he see how the people walking, right? So this is the idea. So I just decided to say, let's go with the idea, but it would bring out more of the European than just make a simple something. So when everybody come in and say, they say, well, yes, so like these British people, you know what I mean? So then, with the female outfit too, then I sit down and I study what I know. There's big flare dresses and this whole thing, which we don't wear them like now because we have we're more modern now. But in the European clothing, we wear jeans or a jersey, but the European they with the fine hats and so this is how I come. I just sit down and just say, well, look, I just want the color and just bring it through.
Nice. So here we have Christopher Columbus depicted as an astronomer and in a ship as he sailed across the various oceans, of course. And I guess this is a depiction of him, discovering the South Americas, because we know exactly where they leave to where they left to come. That's not where they ended up. Yeah. Yes, but thank you very much. When we look across the other areas of the booth, we can see the female depiction of the European clothing. Of course, we see the tea party.
The finest table. They have the garden. They bring flowers.
Yes.
Because to unique themselves, they bring everything. So we had no use.
So yeah, just staying on the topic of the European contribution to Ghana, because they did contribute a lot as it pertains to what they brought to Ghana and what they left as well. And many of the stuff that we still use, and we're actually using one right now, the English language they brought to Guyana, and we're still using the English language. They brought, the kind of like government system that we have currently in use in Guyana at the moment. The different foods, you guys were mentioning.
Different food. And it was surprising when you read up, you realize that Europeans bring pastries.
Yeah.
You used to think, who pastry come from? I used to say in the days it's Chinese. But then you read up, you realize they bring pancake, cheese roll, they bring pickles, they bring wine, they bring so much. You know what I mean? The favorite thing that my children love to eat is the waffles, and so we have a little depiction of everything. They bring cinnamon rolls, so the old atmosphere, is so funny that and because I thinking that pastries come, as I said before, from someone else and not the Europeans, so it's surprising.
Yeah, I think one of the common things that we're going to notice when we go through the ground here at the Arrival Day Village is that the different things that these ethnic groups are bringing that we still use up until to this day, and the different foods, the different culture, the different customs that we're still using as Guyanese people right here in today's present history.
And it is all contributed to Guyana's rich tapestry and who we are as a people, and again our melting pot of culture.
Yes. Yeah, so thank you so much, Jermaine, for explaining to us the little bit of history about the Europeans. Just to recap, they brought a lot to Ghana. They came in search of one thing. They end up settling. We have the structures that we have. That our building structure is largely attributed to the Europeans when they came. Our clothing, our language, the English language that we speak today is attributed to the Europeans. So they've brought a lot and they've left a lot here on these shores of Guyana. So we've wrapped up the Amerindian booth. We've wrapping up the European booth, and we're going to head over to the African booth to have a little bit of discussion with someone from there to explain to us the little bit of history with the Africans. So there's a few more booths that we have to cover, so stick around and we'll be right back.
Good now? the king with the girl, putting two words here by and take more.
So we're at the African booth here at the Arrival Day Village, being brought to you guys by the Ministry of Education. And I'm currently with Mwanza, who is going to explain to us a little bit of history about the African people and why they came to Guyana, what was the reason for why they came to Guyana, and how they were brought to Guyana. So Mwanza, can you tell us a little bit of the history of the African people and why they were brought to Guyana?
Well, of course, they were captured and brought to work on plantations, basically. You know, none of them wanted to. They didn't have a choice. There were no paper that they signed to say, oh, maybe I could. No. They were stolen, and they came to work on the plantations, basically. Currently, the first part of the exhibit more so mimics the ship experience of enduring that gruesome 3 months, sometimes 2 months voyage from Africa, from the continent to South America. Now, after they came off the ship, kids, they came to a beautiful country called British Guyana then. While it was green and while it was beautiful, to the slaves, the experience was not green or beautiful. Now, some countries that they came from in West Africa, like Ghana, Gabon, Mali, Cameroon, Togo, just to name a few, those are some of the countries that they came from. Now, after they came off the ship, they came to the auction area here, right? Now, this is where they were auctioned off or sold to the highest bidder. And they were, and that was based on how healthy your teeth was. That was based on how strong you look. That was based on how nice your face was. Then you were sold to the highest of bidders. Now, after you were sold, they somewhat wanted to brand you to represent which plantation you came from. Now, anybody here ever saw how horses are branded? Good. So they have that metal rod and that insignia attached to the rod, and they would then put that into the fire and literally burn it onto slave skin. So just how that experience was gruesome and horrible, the experience continue as you go to the next exhibit. Enjoy, have a good day. Yes, so we go on to the other part that talked about the life in the plantation, where you learn about what they endured as in terms of treatment, you know, what they went through working from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. with little to no food. We just wanted to give the kids the experience of a full sensory experience, you know, looking at sights, you know, showing how vivid the conditions were, showing what they endured, you know, within that period of slavery, you know, very, very horrible. So we wanted to bring that to light. It goes into, you know, after the treatment and they didn't want to continue working under these conditions. That's where the rebellions happen, you know. Notable one, the 1763, the Damon, and some of the others, you know, those arises because of the treatments on the plantation. After that happened, of course, after the rebellion, they had to discipline or show an example to those who were outspoken. So that's how these torturous things happen, you know, the lynching, you know, beaten with whips with spikes on it, giving them, you know, all of the ugly markings on their skins and what's not. We have all of those via our posters and what's not, so the kids can understand how gruesome and horrible and how inhumane the experience was. As it go on, we show that even after slavery, the slaves didn't just went wild. They knew the importance of community. They knew the importance of working together. So they bought land so that they can stay together, so that they can share ideas together, so they can be cooperative. They have learned that through groupings, through communities, they would get more. And that's exactly what they did when they bought their first community of Victoria and of course their first community known as Queenstown in Essequibo. And from there we shared also accomplishments and contributions. We have a live drummer in the background. We have musical instruments. We have 2 shops. Like when we want to capture, like, you know, like known in these African villages, there are African shops. There is some auntie who own a cook-up shop or sells cook-up. So we try to give that mimic. So we have Auntie Joni cook-up shop, and we have samples of cassava pone and conky, given the culinary arts part of the African contribution. On the next side, we have Uncle Bertie Tailor shop, you know. There's a tailor in every community, and we wanted to give that, you know, something that they could see, you know, like they can say to themselves, you know, oh, I I know somebody who sews in the community, and there we have a representation of the fashion side of the contributions. We have some clothes on mannequins that gives you the contemporary part of it. Though it's not African traditional, it's African inspired. So it's still some way that we're pulling or maintaining the African identity into modern silhouettes and modern ways that they continue this beautiful experience at the Arrival Village.
What I want to talk about, because we talk about, the slavery aspect, let's talk a bit about, if you can explain life after the big monumental moment of May 26, 1966, when Guyana gained independence. What was life like then for Africans? Or specifically, not even independence, we can go farther back when slavery was abolished, how life was then there.
I mean, the experience was very, very gruesome. Although they were given the rights to do certain stuff, in Guyana and around the world, they were still deemed as nobodies. They were still deemed as, oh, we can't drink at the same pipe together. We can't be at the same beach together. We can't dance in the same club together. All around the world, they still experience that same treatment, And it is so sad to know that we came based on the fact of being stolen, not wanting to come, came to these parts, built these places, started these industries. Because if you look at it, there is no way the sugar industry could not have been built without the slaves that came for that. And then you look at sugar, in some countries cotton, you look at coconut and so many other byproducts. Now after building all of these industries, after putting so many monies into these slave owners' pockets, we were still deemed as nobody when we built them. So even after these dates and what's not, we were still looked down as the ugly people. And in some parts, still the same today. We are still fighting for an identity. We're still fighting for respect. We're still fighting for equal rights, So while in some places it's good, there are countries where they still experience a lot of it. It's an ongoing fight. Like the curation of the booth, we wanted to give that zigzag journey because the African experience and journey, it's no straight walk through. So that's exactly what we want to encompass with the curation of the African village here at Arrival Day.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Mwanza, for that lovely, lovely explanation. So as you guys heard, for those of you watching us live on the Guide Learning channel or the Ministry of Education page, if you come down here to the Ardechong Conference Center at the Ministry of Education's Arrival Day Village, if you come to the African booth, you'll get a first-hand hands-on experience about the life of how it was, on the African people on these ships and what they endured on these plantations, when they were slaves. So there's a lot to learn, a lot to soak in, a lot of history that is important and integral for the Guyanese culture, not just for the African people, but slavery taught us all, a little bit about how we can persevere through tough times. So we learned a little bit from the Amerindian village, Amerindian booth, about why they came and why they settled and why they decided to settle in these parts of Guyana. We heard a little bit about the Europeans and what they contributed to Guyana as it pertains to infrastructure and language, and we're learning here from the African booth, what these African people endured and why were they brought to Guyana, was basically to work as slaves on these various plantations. But not just the aspect of slavery, but the contributions that they've made to the Guyanese culture that we still use. If you guys can hear in the background, we're hearing the songs of drums, which is still a big part of the Guyanese culture, Guyanese music as we know it here in Guyana. The different foods, as you know, I bet many of you love cook up. It's an African dish that they brought to Guyana, here. So there's a lot to learn. There's a lot to take in. There's a lot of history, being explained here at the Arrival Day Village. So we're going to move on to the next booth, and I hope you guys stick around as Shanta's going to join me back in the next booth where we're going to have a chat with the person there to explain to us what is going on at the Arrival Day Village.
Awesome. Now, welcome everybody.
with Mr. Quentin Pearson, and we're at the booth depicting the Portuguese, how they came, their contributions, and you know what they have given to this rich Guyanese culture. Now, tell us a bit about the designs that we see here today. Tell us a bit about the Portuguese, you know, how they came, and the 411 basically.
Sure. All right, thank you so much for being here. So the Portuguese originally came in the year 1834. A small group came to Guyana, and then in the year 1835, we had the first 40 immigrants that came to work in the sugar plantations. And as they lived and worked in Guyana, they later started to occupy land. For example, in places like Thomas Land, Liliendal, and even Alboistong. And those are places where they established businesses. For example, John Fernand's, Perez Jewelry, Fogarty's Building, JP Santos Bookers, and even well known now, Banks Limited. You know, so they are very business-oriented people. Their culture and their craft is also so richly incorporated into this society, and I'm proud to be able to be doing so much research and to be able to share this with the kids as they come and they realize that, you know, these are things that we would have been hearing about, but we don't actually know that it's so significant to each and every one of these booths, and especially for what the Portuguese would have contributed. You know, it's really good to know and to be able to share that knowledge.
Nice, awesome. Now tell us a bit about the contributions that we see here around us. You know, what are some of the things that they came with that we hold on to even a day like today, and things that we put into practice, you know, here in the 21st century in Guyana?
So for sure, what I'd want to say, let's start with the clothing. You know, the Portuguese they are the ones who brought the waistcoats. So sometimes you know, little kids, men, they would wear these waistcoats. They would go to church. They would go to weddings. That originally is an item in the Portuguese traditional type wear, right? They also wear a lot of long skirts. It's known as the bouffant skirt, and they're usually long. They're heavily embellished. It's similar to what you may see with the Indian culture, but you know, they have their own intricate way of showcasing and promoting their culture in their creative work. We have on display here as well a replica of a stone oven. So originally, these are the type of ovens that they use to bake things like custard tart, pine tarts, cakes, orange cakes, lemon cakes. This is just a replica of what it looked like. You know, the kids have been really interactive with this because it looks realistic, and it gives that feel of, you know, being there back in the day. As a lot of people know, Peter de Guiar is Portuguese. He is the person who established Banks GIH so many years ago, and today we are all able to, you know, celebrate and be able to participate and enjoy so much of the fruit of his labor. Banks GIH bringing so many beautiful products like rums, you know, spirits, aerated drinks, etc. Over here we have just a few examples of leather items. They established leather shops back in the days. So like shoes, stitching of shoes, making leather corsets, making leather slippers, leather bags. These are some of the things that they did to make a livelihood in Guyana. And today we can see so many Guyanese from all walks of life and ethnic groups adopting these type of you know, work and so forth. So it's been a really great adventure seeing the contributions that they made. I mean, if we were to touch on the food, it's so vast as well. You know, sauce, garlic pork. These are all delicacies of the Portuguese.
Awesome, thank you very much. And you know, something that I've just come to the realization of is that as a Guyanese people, we've not only seen that ethnic groups would have brought their various cultures here to Guyana, but also, and not only that we are so blended, but you really highlighted something that's very important. You highlighted that the customs that would have been brought from other cultures have been adopted by other ethnicities, right? Because you would think that the leather slipper is something that probably the Africans came with, and the Africans, you know, because we see Africans, they are the ones here in our Guyana today that are mostly selling and making these leather slippers and so on. You would think that this is something that came from the African culture, but really and truly it was adapted into the African culture. And for that alone, we must be proud as Guyanese to know that, we are exchanging craft, we are exchanging culture, we are learning who we are as a people, and, all that we are, it's drawn from various parts of the world, and we're now one melting pot of culture, and I absolutely love it. I know that you probably enjoyed putting all of this together. Tell us about the process just a bit.
Awesome. So this is the first time that I'm doing this sort of display, and it was thrilling. It was a learning adventure. I'm really happy and grateful for all the support that I was given by my other teammates and designers. And we worked together to make this successful, and it was really good. I was able to reach out to organizations, even individuals, Portuguese men and women who have craft items in their homes that are loaned here to us today. I have a family heirloom that was passed down through the generations. A piece of tapestry that came directly from Madeira is actually on display in our tent. So it's been really, really great and satisfying to just have a more profound sense of satisfaction and admiration, for just being able to do this.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pearson, for all that you have sensitized us about today. Of course, thank you also for your contribution, and the amazing displays that we see here today would not have been possible without you. And thank you, our viewers. It is very, very educational, going through these booths, not just the viewers learning, but I'm also learning, and I love that for me. We see the contribution of the Portuguese people, and we see that we're still benefiting from that as a Guyanese people today, from all the various businesses. We were talking about Bank CIH and all other things, these buildings and all these things that came along with the Portuguese people. So it's something that we must be proud of, and thank you very much once again. At this time, we'll be moving along to our next booth, and we'll be back with you in just a bit. Do stay tuned.
So we're back and I'm at the East Indian booth here. They're the fifth ethnic group to come to Guyana a very, very long time ago. And I'm here with Julia Williams, who's going to be explaining to us a little bit of the history of the East Indian people. So Julia, can you tell us why or what was the reason for the East Indians being brought to Guyana and why did they end up settling here in Guyana?
So after slavery was abolished, the Europeans needed laborers on the plantation. So the Portuguese left and they went to India for the indentured immigrants. So they came here to work mainly on the sugarcane plantation and then later on rice cultivation. So
yeah, and can you tell us give us like an idea of or what was life like for the East Indians coming to Guyana as indentured laborers? Because I think we all know that indentured laborers, they weren't paid the full wage for the job, but they were given money just to, because of the abolishment of slavery.
all right, so when they came on two vessels, the motor vessel Whitley and the Hesperus. So they were severely ill-treated by the Europeans. If they tried to run away or they were caught skylarking on the plantations, they were beaten and salt rubbed into their backs. So they lived in lodges, small hut-like buildings, and it was in a long line very close to each other. The way of life, they worked from 6 a.m. in the morning all the way up to 6 p.m. It could go even longer. Men, women, and children. So when they came, they not only came to work, they settled in plantations like Enmore, Kanji, and Regina, Vredenhoop. So after a while, after being mistreated, they strike. I'm sure we're aware of the Enmore Martyrs Monument in Enmore. Lalabaji, Hari, 5 martyrs, they were on strike, and that monument there is in remembrance of them. So after they fought for their independence from the contracts that they had, and I'll speak about that. So they were given small wages, not a lot. So after they strike, the Europeans couldn't afford to send all of them back to India, so they offered them land. And the East Indians, they had pooled their savings, the small wages that they would accumulated over time. They saved that money and they bought lands along the west coast of Guyana. So they brought their culture. We see it in the food, the dances, the religion. I can go on. This booth here is a representation of just a fraction of what the East Indians contributed to Guyana. So we have clothing, a little replica of the loji, the kitchen, some sweet meats, and just the history. The East Indians shaped a lot of the politics in Guyana. Dr. Chedi Jagan, Dr. Barjak Deo, current president Dr. Muhammad Irfan Ali, and there's a lot more that I cannot. The time does not permit. Yeah,
there's a lot to cover as it pertains to the East Indians and their arrival to Guyana. You mentioned their contributions to Guyana, and I wanted you to touch a little more in detail on that, because the East Indians did contribute a lot to Guyana, and so did the other ethnic groups. But the East Indians contributed to music, food, culture, customs, and different various national holidays that we still do celebrate here today. Can you tell us a little bit about those?
Yeah. So. Correct. Food. The celebrations, we have Pagwa, Diwali, Arrival Day, Indian Arrival Day, now known as Arrival Day, which this entire event is centered around. Music, dances like Kathak, and the Indian wear. I'm wearing a sari here. The booths, they highlight all of the various Indian wear, the jewelry. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a lot more, as Julia said, that we can go into about the East Indians and their arrival and their contributions to the Guyanese culture. And just to name a few, Julia just mentioned there. So there is a lot of things to be learned here at the Arrival Day Village being brought to you guys by the Ministry of Education. We spoke to the Amerindians, we spoke to the Africans, we spoke to the Europeans. Shanti spoke to the Portuguese there, and I'm now speaking to the East Indian. So we just have one more ethnic group to cover, and that's the Chinese, which Shanti will cover with you guys. But one thing that I can definitely say and what we can see is that there is so much to learn and there's so much to appreciate as it pertains to what these different ethnic groups have brought together and that we still use today in present day, whether it be the different customs, traditions, national holidays, food, clothing, language that we even speak, So there's a lot. Shante used the word earlier on when we first went live, a melting pot of culture, and this phrase is used by His Excellency President Dr. Mohamed Ifan Ali. One Guyana is very, very much evident here as we go and learn about the different ethnic groups here in Guyana. So when we come back, Shante will be at the Chinese booth where she'll have a little bit of history about their arrival to Ghana and their contribution. So stay right there and tune in. We'll be right back. Thank you so much. Thank you.
With Miss Deborah James, and we are on our sixth and final booth, and of course it's the Chinese, and Miss Deborah James will be telling us a bit about the history of the Chinese, about their contributions, and how it all ties into the rich tapestry that we have here in Guyana. So Miss Deborah, how are you doing today?
Oh, thank you. I'm wonderful today. I'm doing really great today. It's good to see all of the children out here today, and I know they're gaining a lot from this exhibition.
Awesome. I'm very happy that you said that. Now tell us a bit about the Chinese and their history.
Right. Well, the Chinese, they were the sixth group that came to Guyana, which add to the flavor of our wonderful, diverse culture here in Guyana. So yes, the first group of Chinese came in the year 1853, and the last group to arrive was in 1879. So we had, during that time, all the Chinese, they came here, and they add to the already five groups that were here before them. And the Chinese, like I said, are our brothers and sisters, and they have contributed so much to our culture. Now, starting with the first thing, that after leaving the plantation, they went into charcoal production, and that's way up in Hopetown, Kamuni Creek, and so that was the first thing that they started doing and adding to what Guyana is today, right? And so in addition to that, we have a rich culture in terms of their food, their dress, their dances, and all of that. And so I think it's really wonderful for children to come here today and not only learn about or refresh their memory about the Chinese, but also to learn to appreciate what they have brought with them from Asia, right? So all of that make our history, make our Guyana, make the Guyanese society today such a wonderful place to be a part of.
Awesome.
I think a very important thing to mention, and I think you just briefly touched on it, as it pertains to why the Chinese came, because we know that the Africans were brought here because of slavery. We know the East Indians were brought here as indentured laborers. But why did the Chinese came to Guyana?
Well, the Chinese was one of the groups of indentured immigrants. Well, we had the Amerindians, the Europeans, then we had the Africans as well. But then there came the Portuguese, which was the first group of indentured immigrants that arrived in Guyana. And after them, we had the East Indians, and then we had the Chinese. Now, the indentured immigrants really came on a contract for 5 years, so they were treated differently than the Africans that arrived here before them, right? So they came on a contract, they were paid to work, but it was the same things that they were doing as those that came before them, right? They came to work on the sugar plantations. So that was what they came for initially. But of course, like I said, spending years here in Guyana, after their contracts were ended, right? Some of them decided to stay. As we know, anybody to Guyana would want to stay here, right? And so some of them stayed. And so the descendants here today are Chinese descendants, and some of them went back, but of course we know that many of them stayed here in Guyana.
Yes, and they continue to contribute to our rich culture.
Right.
Now, let's talk about some of the contributions that the Chinese made to the Guyanese society.
Right. Well, first things first. Well, up to today, we have the charcoal industry vibrant, strong, right? And so that was one of the things started by the Chinese immigrants. And of course, look, if you look in the corner there, we have our rich Chinese cuisine, which I know many of us love. We love to go to the Chinese restaurant, we order in and so on. We have the chow mein, we have the lau mein, we have sweet and sour chicken, we have the wonton. All of that add to the rich culture of Guyana. And then in terms of dress, we have in front there, you can check out the booth there. We have our nice tunics and so on. And then it comes to festival where we have the dragon dance, and we have a replica of that here. So all of these things add to the flavor of our rich, diverse culture here in Guyana. And I think it's really wonderful. And up to the day, you see now that our children are here with us today, they can see, they can learn, like I said, refresh their memory, but most of all, learn to appreciate our Chinese brothers and sisters. And you see, that is the important thing. Tolerance, respect, appreciation, and that is what we want to instill in our young children today.
Awesome. Thank you very much,
so much.
Ms. Deborah James, for your awesome insight.
Detailed explanation
Yes.
of the history and the Chinese people and their contributions to Guyana. And with that, we've come to the end of our walkthrough of the 6 ethnic groups and their booths here at the Arrival Day Village, brought to you guys by the Ministry of Education at the Arthur Chong Conference Center. We're going to go live in a few minutes to the cultural presentation for day 2. I hope you guys stick around for that, where they're going to go on display to display what we've basically shown you guys along the way. So I'm sure Shantae have learned a lot. I've learned a lot, surely, and we can't wait for to go and impart these different knowledges that we've learned here at the Arrival Day Village at the Arthur Chong Conference Center. So it was nice talking to you guys. Stick around for the cultural presentation happening very, very soon in a bit. So yeah, thank you, Shantae. Anything you want to add?
I'm Shantae Eastman.
And I'm Shane Marks. Thank you guys for tuning in.
departments of education, our teachers, our students, special invitees. We want to take this opportunity at this time to officially call to order day 2 of the Ministry of Education's Arrival Day Village here at Arthur Chung Conference Center. Today continues what we would have started yesterday, providing for us a landmark in our education fraternity whereby we are celebrating our peoples who came here, and today we want to continue within that recognition. And even as we go through our Arrival Day program, be encouraged to know that this provides for each and every one of us an opportunity to celebrate the richness of our culture here within the Cooperative Republic of Guyana. This morning we are truly humbled by the presence of each and every one of you who will make today's occasion a grand success. And so to the schools journeying from all across the country, we want to say thank you for coming out here today. And we trust that as we go through today's proceeding, it will not only be an enjoyable one, but it will be a learning experience for each and every one of you. And so to begin our program today, we want to make welcome the East Indian TASA group who will come and grace us with a piece. Let's put our hands together as we welcome this TASA group as they entertain us this morning.
Yeah, here it is. You come after me? This should give you another shot. No,
All right, let's put our hands together for those two pieces that we have before. Come on, we can do better than that. Put your hands together for the drummers, representatives from the East Indian culture. If you have a Guyana flag in your hands, let me see you wave those flags. Right where you are, wave those flags. We are proud to be Guyanese to the bone. At this time, we are going to make way for students from the Bishop's High School, Christchurch, St. Rose's High, St. Stanislaus College, President's College, and Queen's College. And these students are about to come to do an interesting piece for us, which provides an overview of our Arrival Day Village here at the Ministry of Education. So once again, let's put our hands together and make them feel welcome. The Amerindians, the Bishop's High, Europeans, Christchurch, African St. Rose's, Portuguese St. Stanislaus College, and we have Chinese Queen's College.
I am an Guyanese of Amerindian descent, from the frozen landscapes of Mongolia to the lush jungles of Guyana. My ancestors embarked on an epic journey that would shape the very fabric of our beloved home. The adventurous Amerindians journeyed from Mongolia across the icy Bering Strait, chasing warmer lands and food. They eventually settled throughout the Americas and into today's Guyana. They established vibrant villages like Aishalton, leaving a cultural legacy. Delicious cassava bread and pepper pot, dazzling TV series skirts and beaded jewelry, spirited dances like the Mari Mari, and rhythmic music with flutes and drums, fierce hunters with bows, spears, and blowpipes. They also gifted Guyana with unforgettable words like Kaichor, Old Man's Falls, Mashramani, celebration after hard work. Politically, trailblazers like Stephen Campbell and Pauline Campbell Sakai paved the way, making Amerindian influence a lasting and dynamic force in Guyanese life. Their incredible journey continues to echo through the heart of Guyana. With fearless hearts and timeless traditions, the Amerindians blaze the trail across the Americas, weaving their deep spirit into the deep soul of Guyana. Thank you. I am a Guyanese of European descent, fueled by the dazzling legend of El Dorado. My fearless ancestors set sail across the treacherous seas and stormy skies to reach the shores of Guyana, forever reshaping its history. The Spanish were the first to visit these shores, but moved on past. They were followed by the Dutch, who built thriving colonies like Essequibo, Demerara, and Berbice. The French swept in briefly in 1782, only to be overtaken by the English in 1796. With them came tantalizing foods like pastries and pies, elegant waltz, lively accordion tunes, and fine ceramic that enrich the local culture. Under their rule, Guyana journeyed from colony to independence in 1966 and eventually a proud republic in 1970. Their legacy still echoes today in names and places such Georgetown, Versailles, I-Flat, and the fabled El Dorado, weaving their bold adventures into the heart of Guyana's vibrant story. Driven by the dreams of gold and glory, the Europeans sailed their way into Guyana, leaving a bold imprint on its land, culture, and history.
I am a Guyanese of African descent. In the early 1600s, my ancestors were brought from the shores of West Africa, from places we now know as Senegal, Angola, and Ghana, and thrust into the nightmare of the Middle Passage. On these voyages, they endured overcrowded slave ships and unimaginable suffering. Yet, from this darkness rose extraordinary resilience. Survivors carved out thriving communities in Boston, Victoria, and Bettervowactic, transforming Guyana with flavorful dishes like coca rice and metaji. The thunder of drums, the flare of comfort, and masquerade dances, and exquisite beadwork and pottery added to the rich tapestry of my ancestral culture. Out of their struggles emerged leaders like Kofi and Ferbs Burnham, who fought for freedom from slavery and colonialism, for unity and justice. From the depths of unimaginable hardship, my ancestors rose with unbreakable spirit, transforming their pain into power and leaving a vibrant legacy that still beats at the heart of Guyana today, shaping the fierce and proud spirit of Guyanese that still burns bright in our beloved land.
I am a Guyanese of Portuguese descent. On May 3rd, 1834, the first of my ancestors disembarked from the ship Louise Bailey and set foot in this country for the first time. They came all the way from the impoverished Portuguese-owned island of Madeira to work on the sugar plantations as indentured laborers. After indentureship, whilst some returned, many chose to stay. They helped to build this beautiful nation of ours. Their prints are still very much evident today, from the mouth-watering stewed beef, red beet soup, and pancakes to the garlic pork we enjoy at Christmas. Stringed instruments like the brags and the ragas echo through the halls of our rich culture. My ancestors were staunch Christians. We owe the construction of the first Sacred Heart Catholic Church to them. So establishing they were that we still see their legacy in our business community. The likes of the Fernandez, Bookers, the likes of the Fernandez, Santos, Fogartys, Bookers, Deguars are etched in the name, our name etched in our history. Thank you.
I am a Guyanese of the East Indian descent.
The Whitby and Hesperus docked on our shores on May 5th, 1838, on this beautiful land for the first time. My ancestors were a batch of indentured laborers who came to work on the sugar plantations. They wasted no time on getting to work on plantation Highbury in Berbice. Other East Indian groups worked on plantations as well, from Anna Regina in Essequibo to Cane Grove and Bellevue in Demerara, and Blackbush, Bowler, and Bushlot in Berbice. My ancestors have left a lasting impression on our culture and way of life. The scrumptious dal puri and chicken curry are foods found in the home of every Guyanese. Katak and Nagara are dances brought to our shores. We still proudly wear our lehengas, saris, kurtas, shalwars, dhotis, and harnis, just as we did many years ago. From the soothing bhajans and melodious harmonium to the exciting tassel drumming, the East Indian musical art forms are embedded in our veins as a true Guyanese. Our ancestors joined the fight for freedom and a better standard of living for all. Dr. Chetty Jagan helped to steer our country through the rough seas of colonialism to a blooming democracy. Currently, Dr. Bharat Jagdeo and His Excellency Dr. Irfan Ali, Guyanese of the East Indian descent, are steering our country into a modern state. Thank you.
I am a Guyanese of Chinese descent. My forefathers arrived on these shores in January 1853 on board Glen Tanner, the first of many ships to follow. Dressed in sarongs and tunics, my ancestors were the last group of indentured laborers who worked on the sugar plantations. After indentureship, many of them settled in villages such as Blankenberg, Wensonfars, and Poderoyon. Chinese cuisines such as fried rice and chow mein are a stark reminder that my ancestors helped to build this nation. On the Chinese New Year, the dragon dance and the lion dance bring our Chinese culture to life. Chinese lanterns, fans, and kites are some of the craft works that are still relevant to our society. My ancestors also left their mark in Guyanese politics. Mr. Arthur Chon was our first president. In fact, he was the first ethnically Chinese person to be elected the head of state of a non-Asian country. Thank you.
We are Guyanese. We represent the true embodiment of a multicultural and multi-ethnic nation. Through all our differences, one thing is constant. Our ancestors all helped to shape this nation, and we will continue their hard work as one people, one nation, with one destiny, as we build out a beautiful and free one Guyana.
So amazed to
this time we will welcome on stage, representing the Africans, Best Art Studio, comprising of students from Bladen Hall, Multilateral, and St. Stanislaus College. Put your hands together as Best Art Studio presents to us an African piece in the form of a dance. Come on, let's keep the applause going. Let's keep the applause going. Let's keep it going. Let's keep it going. Most definitely, we want to thank the Best Art Studio. Today, we are in for a treat, and we want to continue to celebrate our rich cultural heritage here within the Cooperative Republic of Guyana. Here to represent the Europeans. Let's put our hands together as we welcome Chosen Academy of Dance as they bring to us another piece. Make them feel welcome. Make some noise until they get on stage. Let me hear you say we reppin' GT. Say we reppin' GT. All right, we would have just witnessed the Portuguese, the Europeans, and now we're going to welcome on stage from the new generation dance studio to do for us a piece that represents the Portuguese culture. Put your hands together as we have this piece at this time.
The children of Madeira, in honor of Portuguese arrival day in Guyana. They came not as conquerors, but seekers of peace, from islands where cliffs kiss the sun, where Madeira's winds like whispered hymns sang of hope, though the voyage was long. They left behind vineyards and narrow stone lanes, church bells ringing in early dawn, to cross a wide uncertain sea to lands unknown, their old life gone. In the belly of ships, with prayers on their lips, they arrived on Guyana's shore, with nothing but faith and willing hands and dreams they'd not held before. They were bound not by chains, but by hardship and toil. Indentured but proud and free, they planted their roots in the Demerara soil, with the heart of their ancestry, the smell of fresh masa, the taste of wine, the clang of a church bell's call. From border to La Penitence, they built up homes, they stood tall. Their names became the nation's own, Da Costa, De Fritas, and more. In bakeries, shops, in faithful hearts, their presence we can't ignore. They brought the rosary, the old guitar, the rhythm of Fado's ache, and taught us that strength is silent, but lives in each breath we take. They gave Guyana not only hands, but language, flavor, and grace. Your legacy lives in every street, your memory time won't erase. So let the candles light their path, let bells once more resound for the children of Madeira's shores who made this land their ground.
All right, so we are coming down to the end of our program today, but we cannot do that without having a representative from the Chinese culture. So once again, let's make some noise as we are represented by the Chinese culture.
This Arrival Day, take a journey through time. Join the Ministry of Education on May 6th and 7th at the Arthur Chung Conference Center for a celebration of our rich, diverse heritage. Come explore the history of all the people who made Guyana home. The Amerindians, Europeans, Africans, East Indians, Portuguese, and Chinese. Their stories are our stories. From the ancient wisdom of the Amerindians to the vibrant culture brought by our diverse ancestors, this is
As one songwriter says, Guyana sweet, Guyana nice. Make some noise for Guyana today. I love it, I love it, I love it. Here at the Ministry of Education, when we do things, we do it big. And today we have one of our local artists here in the mix. At this time, when I think about what he is about to bring, the song is in English and in Hindi. And we are also reminded, for as long as he could remember, he has been singing. Put your hands together, make some noise for Mr. Nayan Shankar, who will come to grace the stage at this time. Because you're so special, you gotta make some noise again. Make some noise again. All right.
Hey guys, what's up? Yeah, you're gonna make some noise. Yeah? Okay. All right. So, this song is basically in Hindi and English. Could you guys sing the English with me? It's very easy. The line, beautiful Guyana. Can I hear anybody say beautiful Guyana? All right. Should we start? Should we start? Are you guys ready? Hey, wave your hands like this. All right. 1, 2. Oh, beautiful Guyana, ye hamare desh hai. Oh, beautiful Guyana, ye hamare desh hai. Oh, I love Guyana. You guys gotta sing with me. Oh, beautiful Guyana, ye hamare desh hai. You guys know the beautiful? Oh, beautiful, ye hamare desh hai. सागर समने बहती है नदियाँ, चांदनी रातों में तेरे किनारे है मेरा जहां. हमारी धरती है, दिल की शान है. हमारी धरती है, दिल की शान है. हमारी धरती है. Oh, I love Guyana, दिल की शान है. Oh, I love Guyana, हमारी धरती है. Oh, I love Guyana, हमारी धरती है. Beautiful Guyana. Can I hear some noise? Yeah. 1, 2, 3. हमारी धरती है, दिल की शान है. हमारी धरती है, दिल की शान है. हमारी धरती है. Oh, I love Guyana. Oh, I love Guyana. Guys, you've been awesome. Our beautiful country, beautiful Guyana. Whenever I see you guys again, I hope you're going to sing with me. Beautiful? Beautiful? I love you guys. Take care.
Let me hear you say again, I love Guyana. Let me see which side will win. So these two rows here, let me hear you say, I love Guyana. Let me hear this side say, I love Guyana. Let me hear you over there, I love Guyana. Together, let's say, I love Guyana. All right, all right. This is how we do it here in the Ministry of Education. At this time, we want to extend a warm and appreciative, we want to thank all schools. We want to say from the bottom of our heart how appreciative we are that you would have taken the time out to come over the past 2 days, the Ministry of Education, Arrival Day Village. And even as you go, the booths, go through the booths, ask questions, interact with those in the booths, and leave here more informed than when you would have walked through the gates of Arthur Chung Conference Center. But here, we can't leave without inviting all of our ethnic groups that would have participated in the 2 days event as they make you once again enjoy a beautiful piece called I Am a Guyanese, I Am a Guyanese, no matter where I be, I am, come on, stand to your feet. I am a Guyanese, I am a, no matter where I be, if you have your flags, wave it. I am a Guyanese, no matter where I be. Put your hands together for the ethnic groups who will welcome you with a dance as you go.
It's who I am, it's who I am, yeah. Still be me, I'll always represent. I'm always Guyanese. In every party, I rep it. Inside of the feds, I rep it. Country people overseas, never deny your Guyanese. In the morning, I rep it. In the evening, I rep it. In the day, in the night, I tell you, anywhere I go, I got my flag, my GT flag, yeah. Six away. In every party, I reppin'. Inside of the feds, I reppin'. Country people overseas, never deny your Guyanese. In the morning, I reppin'. In the evening, I reppin'. In the day, in the night, I tell you, anywhere I go, I got my flag, my GT flag, yeah. I am a Guyanese, I am a Guyanese.
All right, we want to thank you for coming out, for gracing us with your presence. And so we want to invite all schools, the booths from the Amerindians, go through, come all the way to the Chinese. We don't want you to leave unless if you get an opportunity to visit all the booths. Teachers, thank you. Students, thank you. Parents, thank you. Do have a wonderful remaining portion of the day and safe journey when that time comes for you to go home. The driver of PAG 6091, you need to go to
Guyanese.